bitter cold temperatures settling on in around the tri-state, even colder once you factor in these winds, which are gusting up to about 35 miles an hour, which, look at Connorsville, feels 6 degrees below zero. Good afternoon, I'm meteorologist Erin Ashley. We are live on Facebook, our 24/7 streaming channel, and also on all of our Roku apps as well. We are not live on our website because we are streaming some basketball today, which of course is going to be a little bit of a cold one. Thank goodness everything's usually inside this time of year. We have several things that we need to unpack though, because while we are tracking a relatively calm couple of days here, it's going to be very cold. Not as cold though as what we're tracking for this upcoming weekend, which if you've been watching with us here over the last couple of days, we've been eyeing a little bit of a system coming on in, the potential for some snow next weekend. But with that comes really cold temperatures. So we're going to get to that here in just a second. You can see the Ohio River out there. Kind of looks like it's moving the opposite direction because of these winds. They're gusting right now in Cincinnati at the International Airport around 31 miles an hour. Deep blue skies, we're seeing so much sun. It just doesn't feel like it, of course, with these winds now out of the west-northwest. And that's because we did have a cold front carry through overnight into today. It did bring in these winds gusting about 35, maybe 40 miles an hour, but more importantly brought in these temperatures in which, I mean, look at Connorsville, still at 12 degrees right now at 12:02 this afternoon, 14 in Batesville, and we're going to be watching out for those bitter cold temperatures to remain in place over the next couple of days till Wednesday, and then we start to return to something a little bit more normal for the midweek before the bitter cold settles on in this upcoming weekend. So, I mean, we're below freezing. We're going to stay below freezing until Wednesday afternoon. Make sure we're bundling up because these winds have an extra bite to it. We're seeing winds gusting up to 35 miles an hour out in Wilmington. Most of us at least about 20 miles per hour for those wind gusts rather. And then we work into, we put it all together and it feels cold. Like I mentioned, the wind chill is going to be below zero at times today. A high today here in Cincy around 24 degrees, cold, windy, and it feels even worse at times. Just a reminder of that. A sunset today at 5:44. We're seeing these getting later and later, which means we're getting later and later into winter, which means eventually spring will be here, right? Okay, so your evening ahead, because we have such clear skies, we will see these temperatures drop very quickly and drop very low overnight into your Tuesday. Another first alert weather day here. I mean, we're under this first alert weather day and we're going to stay in it until Tuesday late morning, in which we'll start to feel a little better in the wind department. We're still holding on to afternoon highs in the 20s though, so more on that here in just a second. Waking up tomorrow morning, mostly clear skies, which means, yeah, I put this out on my Facebook page. There is the potential for the northern lights tonight. However, the timing is not great because it's going to be in the middle of the night and it's going to be very cold in the tri-state and across much of the region for that matter too. But the levels are there to see the northern lights. Everything kind of looks like it's coming together between 1 and 4 o'clock in the morning, middle of the night when it's especially cold outside. But a KP index there of 8 means that we will see, should see if everything verifies, the northern lights here in the tri-state. Forecasting the aurora is a very delicate forecast. Could very well see this not come together. There's a good possibility of that too. It's just, there's also the possibility that we could see it. So send us your photos if we do catch it. I mean, if you're gonna brave the cold and brave the night, get your photos. It's really cool, especially here, seeing it here in the tri-state. Mostly clear skies right now. We'll see some passing clouds throughout the day today, but with that cold front due east, we're on the cold side of all of this, which means we're not only cold, but also breezy. We're going to hang on to that for Tuesday as well. So your wind chill values, we're below zero across much of the tri-state right now, or especially later on this evening. You can see it right there. And then we're waking up tomorrow morning, very similar look and feel. Clear skies, very cold temperatures, even colder wind chills. And then we do start to feel a little bit better towards the afternoon on Tuesday. No, not a first alert weather day, just cold. And then we'll start to see something a little bit more normal, a warmer day on tap for Wednesday before more cold starts to settle on in around the tri-state. More on that in just a second. Let's talk about the sky cover today. I mean, we're seeing sun. We're going to continue to see sun. And then temperature is going to be dropping overnight into your Tuesday, back into the single digits with sub-zero wind chills. A little bit of clouds coming on in. This is going to be overnight. Upper level clouds mainly. I'm not seeing that really affecting the visibility of the northern lights too much, mainly north of Cincinnati, but hey, not too bad at all. More sun there for your Tuesday. Temperatures are going to be very similar to today, just with a little bit less of a breeze, so it'll actually feel a bit better. Still freezing. Wind chills Tuesday afternoon in the teens, and then we're watching out for some snow there on your Wednesday, which right now the chance for that looks like about a 20%, which means it's dropped off a little bit. However, something that hasn't dropped off, or the chance of it rather, hasn't dropped off, is active weather this weekend, in which snow is not out of the question. A little bit of snow can kind of go a long way with the weekend plans. It's looking like on Saturday we could see a good amount of snow pulling on through the tri-state. And what this isn't showing you is the cold temperatures that are going to be coming in with it as well, because I'd say look at these high temperatures. We dropped these by a lot, and that's because the storm track of that system over the last couple of days has pulled south, which means the colder air has also pulled south. This also means the chance for ice has really gone down, which is the great news here. However, snow is still possible, especially for those south of Cincinnati, and cold everywhere is looking most likely. So our two warmest days this week, 40 degrees on Wednesday with a couple of flurries in the tri-state possible, and then Thursday 38 degrees your forecast high. So still winter coat worthy weather, especially in the mornings and evenings both of those days. But I mean, look, these temperatures for the next couple of days and beyond, Wednesday, Thursday especially, very cold, dangerously cold once you factor in a wind, which we're definitely going to get a wind this weekend with the active weather going around the region. So to give you an idea of what that looks like, we're going to get there in just a second. Show you the cold in the mornings, because you imagine we woke up here in Cincinnati around that 10-degree mark. We're getting colder for tomorrow, but the coldest air of the season, that's going to be arriving this upcoming weekend with the chance for some snow. Here's what it looks like here on your weather timeline. Again, this storm track is everything, because we saw this over the last 24 hours pull farther south, which means it pulled the ice south, and it also pulled the snow south as well, which means you're going to see a very stark difference in the snowfall totals, or at least the possibility of snowfall totals. We're still several days away from the weekend to be talking about totals, right? But right now it looks like the heaviest snow is going to be south of Cincinnati and then clearing the tri-state there on Sunday, which means Saturday in and of itself kind of looks like the most active day of the two, which I know is different from what the forecast was yesterday, which means changes are happening. They usually do this far out. We'll let you know if this changes as they come on into the First Alert Weather Center, as always. But right now, looking at mostly, if not all, snow heading into next weekend. And higher snowfall totals look like they're pulling south of Cincinnati right now. But again, track is everything. We could see it change like we already have within the last day or so. So your First Alert extended forecast. Cold for the next couple of days. Highs both today and tomorrow, 24, waking up tomorrow morning in the single digits. Wind chill below 0. We're already seeing that in part of the tri-state now, and we're going to especially see that overnight into your Tuesday, in which we're going to be mostly sunny. We're going to hold on to a bit of a breeze, just not as stiff compared to today. And then your Wednesday, the warmest day out of your 7-day forecast at a whopping 40 degrees, which, yes, we're out of the freezer, but we still can't rule out some morning snowflakes that day. And then we have a cold front coming on through. That's going to happen early Thursday, which means temperatures are going to be falling pretty quickly into the afternoon and evening. That's how we're able to go from 38 on Thursday to 15 by Friday. It's because we have that cold front carrying on through. And sure, a flurry with that is possible, but it's looking mostly dry with that cold frontal passage. And then something that is not looking dry, your weekend. And again, Saturday looks like it's going to be happening mostly on Saturday now. But again, it can always change like it already has here in the model data. You guys will be the first to know of those changes. And because the storm track has pulled farther south, it has pulled the colder Arctic air at this point even farther south into the tri-state. So we're waking up Saturday and Sunday morning in the single digits. Sub-zero wind chills would just come with that, obviously. Then we have the snow, of course. So any snow that we do see will stick, and will stick very easily as well. The good news here is if we're seeing primarily snow, if not all snow, we don't really have to deal with the rain. We don't have to deal with the ice, but we do have to deal with the colder temperatures too. We're going to hold on to those especially cold temperatures through the rest of that 10-day. Okay, let's see if we have any questions coming on in. Pat's saying, thanks for the bad news. Yeah, you're welcome. You are welcome. Bundle up, Pat. Thanks for tuning in. Camille's asking, what is up with the snow for this weekend? It's a really good question, and you typed that about 5 minutes ago, so hopefully I got to your question and answered it pretty succinctly. But yeah, it snows in the forecast. It's looking like we could see a good amount in parts of the tri-state, but it's looking like feast or famine, in which if we see the storm track pull any farther south, we could escape the chance for snow altogether. However, if it goes back north, we'll see a good amount of snow. Keep checking back on that forecast. Plan for snow right now. Molly's tuning in. I'm so ready for spring. Aurora, what time is it going to be at? So we're watching between 1 and 4 Tuesday morning technically, but overnight into your Tuesday. Mostly clear sky is going to be a good thing here, but it's also leading into those very cold, bitter temperatures. So if you're braving the night, braving the cold, make sure you're bundling up and getting away from city lights around 1 to 4. And of course, the Aurora forecast is a very delicate forecast, so I always like to preface that, or I always like to say that and remind you guys that it's very possible that the timing of the northern lights is later than what we're forecasting here, because if that were to happen, it would be closer to sunrise, which would be bad because you obviously need a dark sky to see the northern lights. But I'm going to be watching, of course, just because I'm really excited personally, and I'll let you guys know of those changes as they come on in. But right now, the current forecast stands between 1 and 4 o'clock this morning. Oh, Tuesday morning, overnight into Tuesday. JD's tuning in. What's the weather for Canton tomorrow morning, and how am I doing? I'm doing well. Thank you for tuning in. And the weather for Canton tomorrow morning is very cold. Camille, yes, I said the aurora between about midnight, 1 o'clock, between 4. And then Camille's asking how much snow on Saturday. So feast or famine, Camille, we've already seen the snowfall totals fluctuate a lot, and so we're not going to say totals at this point in time. I think that would be pretty irresponsible just because we are pretty uncertain in the storm track and the storm timing right now, but we could see several inches. Depending on where you are, you could see an inch or very little snow. It's just something you want to keep an eye on, like we've been saying over the last couple of days, that we are still seeing snowy signals in the forecast for this upcoming weekend. But as we see a little bit more agreement in the models, the data, and consistency in them too, then we'll start to put a little bit more numbers behind the forecast here. Philip saying, can't wait to pay the electric bill. I know. Oh my gosh. Winter hits me every time. Caleb's tuning in from Adrian, Michigan. Hello. Hopefully you're staying warm. Oh my goodness. And Austin's tuning in. Is Hamilton, Ohio supposed to get snow on Saturday? So as of right now, it looks like the heaviest snow is pulling south of Cincinnati, but Hamilton will see some snow as well. It's just not going to be as much as, say, northern Kentucky. And that brings us to the end of all of our questions, which means, yeah, I love you guys tuning on in and giving us the questions, not just about the cold, the snow, but also the aurora that we could possibly see here in the tri-state tonight. I encourage you guys, you can follow me on all my social media. I'm routinely posting updates to that, especially about the northern lights, just because I think it's fascinating stuff, especially having been in such an active solar cycle for the last couple of years now. We will remain a little bit more on the active side. It's not to say today's the last time that we'll see the northern lights, because of course solar cycles work in a year's period, so around 7 years-ish. Okay, that brings us to the end right now at 19 at noon. Today it's 12:14. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. We do not have afternoon newscasts today on Fox 19, but that doesn't mean you can't get the weather. You can do so on fox19.com. You can do so on our app, Fox 19 Now First Alert Weather app, and of course you can follow us all on social media. We can encourage you guys to do that. We'll be tumbling and getting into the data a little bit deeper throughout the afternoon, not just about the cold, but especially the snow this weekend. And our chief meteorologist, Stephanie Roberts, will have that information for you guys coming up tonight on Fox 19 Now at 10. But for now, signing off here in Queens Gate, I'm meteorologist Erin Ashley. Have a great rest of your day and stay warm.